Greetings and welcome. Today, in this episode, I have fused together our programs, exegesis and pantheistic view. There's a lot of commonality between the way exegesis is being conducted and the way that pantheism looks at texts to bring out the meaning. So I have decided to combine the two under one title, Pandegesis. Might have created a new word, but it's okay. That's how dynamic language is. So let me give you a simple definition of this word, pandegesis. Again, it's a combination of pandeism and exegesis. So I define pandegesis as the method of interpreting scriptures that brings together the discipline of exegesis and the insight of pandeism. And for our first lesson under this combined approach, I have this title: Will the real Israel survive the end times and the revelation of the real Messiah? End times is a hot topic today, so I have decided to do something about it entirely from a pantheistic view and treated in an exegetical way. Now, our story today, or our discussion today, starts with Jacob, Israel. Will Israel survive the end times? In the narrative of book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 28, Jacob is given a new name, Israel, after wrestling through the night with a mysterious divine presence. Jacob wrestled with God. That's what the chapter is all about. We see Jacob wrestling with a divine presence. In theology, it's called a theophany, but as expressed or as defined, it is God Himself. So, this story, first question that will come to our mind is it literal or figurative? The story is as mysterious as it is foundational. Jacob wrestles with God through the night and emerges with a new name. He was given a new name, Israel. But we must ask honestly, was this wrestling physical, as in between two people grappling each other and trying to defeat each other? Was it physical or figurative? We can ask the question, what chance does a human being have in a literal struggle with the divine? Zero. The narrative itself invites a deeper reading. A physical contest between man and God borders on the absurd, unless it is understood as a metaphor. What if this wrestling was not flesh and bone, but of consciousness, conviction, and identity? Jacob's struggle may well have been a night-long spiritual contention, a crisis of self, a confrontation with truth, a refusal to let go until clarity, blessing, and transformation emerge. In that sense, Jacob did not defeat God. He engaged the divine reality within and beyond him and survived the encounter and changed him. In verse 24 of that chapter, we read, So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Picture this. In all of the verses in that chapter, this is the only verse that we can see that the divine presence physically touched Jacob. He touched the socket of Jacob's hip. So the wrestling spoken earlier is not a wrestling of flesh and flesh. It's one, the two of them grappling each other. It is a metaphor, something that happens in the spiritual realm. This verse says he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. So we can see that the story symbolizes a profound spiritual struggle, representing the transition from self reliance to dependence on divine grace. It signifies wrestling with fear, seeking blessings through persistence, and ultimate transformation, resulting in Jacob being renamed Israel, meaning he struggles with God, and gaining a lifelong limp, symbolizing humility and dependency. Now, let's look at the name Israel. The name Israel is translated he who wrestles with God, or one who strives with God. This is not just a name as we can see it. It is a definition of a spiritual condition. This tells us that the name Israel is not a noun, is not a pronoun, it is a verb disguised as a name. Look again at the meaning. One who wrestles with God. Now, put that in the corner of your mind because it is important as we go along to answer our question, will Israel survive the end times? The name Israel, commonly understood as a historical or ethnic identity, is more profoundly a verbal and existential concept, one who wrestles with God. Interpreted through the lens of pandegesis, Israel is not merely a person or a people, but a process, a living process, one who wrestles with God. The human struggle to understand, to question, and align with the divine as expressed through reality itself. Israel, with that kind of meaning, is not a blood lineage. Israel, as a verb, is a process. As a process, it describes a human being who questions deeply, struggles with ultimate reality, refuses passive belief, seeks truth through inner conflict. One that fights, one that struggles, one with determination to push on so that he can achieve clarity. So, to be Israel is to live in honest tension with the divine, not blind submission. Now, let's look at the nation of Israel. In a while ago, we looked at the person. Now, let's look at the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel was lost for almost 2,000 years. And that complicates the narrative. The ancient nation of Israel was scattered, displaced, and seemingly lost for nearly 2 millennia. Identity was blurred, lineage was fragmented, culture adapted and survived, but not without transformation. For all of you out there, pastors, theologians, we know that Israel was lost. The nation was lost. The person was lost. There is no clear lineage that we can pinpoint to really say that that is the lineage of Israel. So, to look at the name Israel as a person is no longer feasible. We have to look at the name, the verb Israel. Look at it in its meaning. One who wrestles with God. If Israel is purely a biological entity, How does it endure such discontinuity? Or was Israel always meant to be something more than genetic continuity? Now let's move to Paul. Paul has two Israels, one by blood and one by faith. Theologians out there, you know this. The apostle introduces a radical idea, one that disrupts purely ethnic definition. He suggests that there are, in essence, two Israels, one according to the flesh and one according to faith. In his reasoning, not all who are descended from Israel are truly Israel. Now, this opens the door to a profound interpretation. Israel may not be defined by ancestry alone, but by alignment of the heart, the mind, and spirit with truth. Again, the meaning of the name, one who struggles with God. In modern history, after 2,000 years, the re-emergence of a nation called Israel is often seen as prophetic fulfillment. Yet, the book of Revelation presents a troubling statement. It says in chapter 2, verse 9 and chapter 3, verse 9, there are those who say that they are Jews, but they are not. Okay? Why is this? Because again, for 2,000 years, Israel was lost. And now there are those in these modern days who are saying that they are descendants of Israel by blood, by blood. But what if in Revelation it is talking about the meaning of the verb Israel, those who wrestle with God? This introduces a layer of ambiguity and challenge. Is identity merely claimed? Porke ba sinabing Israel na siya, Jewish na siya, Hudyo na? Oh, by the way, I will probably repeat this message mostly in Tagalog. Okay? Must identity be demonstrated through the essence of what Israel truly means? The question is no longer historical. We have to consider what I have already stated as a background. It's not just historical, it becomes existential. Is the real Israel still with us today? The Israel as a noun or pronoun, or the Israel as a verb? Who then is Israel today? So we arrive at the unavoidable question, who is Israel today? Is it a nation state? Is it an ethnic group? Is it a religious community? Or is it something deeper? If we follow the trajectory of the narrative from Jacob's struggle to Paul's interpretation, Israel begins to look less like a tribe and more like a type of human being. Back to the meaning of the name. Israel, one who wrestles with God. This kind of definition cuts across geography, genetics, religion. You cannot just pinpoint into one geography or one lineage or one religion those who are wrestling with God. It describes a universal human experience. Those who wrestle with God could come from any philosophy, any profession, any standing. It could be the scientist wrestling with truth. It could be the philosopher confronting existence. It could be the believer in God questioning inherited doctrines. Or it could be any individual struggling with suffering, purpose, and meaning. Israel becomes a mirror of anyone undergoing such struggle with God. It's not a membership club. The question is Israel, blood, faith, or struggle? In Judaism, Israel is the covenant people, the descendants of Jacob, bearers of a sacred history. The struggle with God is preserved in law, tradition, and survival. To be Israel is to belong to a story that has endured exile, suffering, and return. In Christianity, the idea evolves. Through voices like Paul, Israel becomes inward. It is no longer defined solely by lineage, by blood, but by faith. The struggle becomes spiritual, between belief and doubt, between flesh and spirit. In Islam, the emphasis shifts again. The struggle becomes submission, aligning human with divine will. The faithful are those who surrender, who discipline themselves into obedience to God. So we are left with three powerful religious interpretations. In Judaism, Israel is a heritage. In Christianity, Israel is faith. In Islam, Israel is submission. But the original meaning still whispers something deeper. Israel is a struggle with the divine. Now, who wrestles with God today? This is where the question becomes personal. Who truly today wrestles with God? Is it the one who inherits a name but never questions? Is it the one who professes belief but avoids doubts, avoids questions? Or is he the one who submits outwardly but silences his inner conflicts? Or is it the one who questions, who seeks, who searches, who struggles without pretending certainty, who fights, figuratively, of course, not physical, for him to know the truth, for him to have clarity? Is Israel the one who refuses easy answers, who confronts suffering, injustice, and silence, and still reaches toward truth? Perhaps the real Israel today is not the one who claims, but the one who wrestles. Revelation chapter 2 verse 9 and chapter 3 verse 9 sounds loud and clear. There are those who call themselves Jews or Israel, but they are not. In fact, Revelation is defined it to the extreme. They are the synagogue of Satan. Now, for a background, let's look back at Jacob. Why his struggle is really the peak of what example we can get of one struggling with God. We know that in Genesis, he's about to meet his brother again after years of separation. They separated when, let's say, they were yet single. But this time they have to meet, and both of them have grown into powerful tribes. Would you imagine his brother Esau? Jacob received the news that he will meet him with 400 men. Now, if you are Jacob or Israel, you know very well that you have cheated Esau when you were younger. You stole his birthright. Now, after years of separation, you have grown to be your individual powerful tribes. He comes to meet you with 400 men. Are you going to pray? Are you going to plead with God? Read Genesis chapter 28. Read the story and find out how fearful, how afraid Israel or Jacob was to meet his brother. And so, in so doing, he wrestled with God. It's not stated in the Bible, but I can probably picture that he was prostrate before God, crying before God, fighting God. God, will I continue in this trip to meet my brother? What if he kills me? What if he kills my son, my sons, my family, my tribe? They come to meet me in force. And he wrestled with God with such a frame of mind. He wrestled with God for the whole night. until it was about dawn. And the one he is contending with says, let me go. Let me go. Said, I will not let you go until you bless me. Now, what does that say? God, I will not let you go until you make things clear to me. Give me clarity, give me purpose, give me understanding. That is the nature of the wrestling of Jacob with this divine being. It's not a physical wrestling, we know. Jacob or Israel cannot hope to win over the divine being. We have to look at it as a metaphor. What if then the end times we are talking about is not about global catastrophe, but global unveiling? Revelation, by our culture and perspective, has become to mean something like destruction, punishment, judgment. But revelation, if we have to use another thing, another word, is just unveiling, the taking away of the curtain. The one that blinds is taken away. It's being unveiled. It's not really. The original word really does not mean destruction, but it just means unveiling. One you don't know is suddenly made clear. Now, in such a time, the real Israel will not be identified by political borders, religious labels, or ancestral claims, but by the authentic engagement with truth. Again, back to the meaning of the word Israel, one who wrestles with God. Now, I have given the title that talks about the survival of Israel for the end times, and that is connected to the revelation of the Messiah that they are expecting. So let's move to that Messiah. Who is the real Messiah? Who is the Messiah of Israel? This leads us to the next conversation. Who then is the Messiah? If Israel is redefined not as ethnicity, not as a race, not as a people, not as a bloodline, but as a condition of the soul, then the Messiah must also be understood differently. The Messiah is not a single person. He is not a political deliverer. He is not a religious figure tied to one group. In fact, if we have to look at the religions of the world, this struggle expresses itself in so many expectations. In Judaism, the Messiah is yet to come, a human leader who restores Israel and bring peace. Actually, the other day, I saw YouTube feature. One rabbi is saying that the Messiah will appear last Thursday, and it's now, what day is today? Forgot. Friday. So, supposed to be yesterday. But as I was looking at the news this morning, there's no news of the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah returning. So even the Jews, they're not good at prophesying. In Christianity, Jesus Christ is both the one who came and the one who will return to judge and transform the world. And his coming back is also connected with the end of days or end of the world, which was also related to the war going on in Israel at this time. So many are saying, oh, it's Armageddon, it's second coming, then it's rapture and end of the world, end of days. Let's see. In Islam, alongside the return of Jesus, there is the awaited Mahdi, a guided leader who restores justice before the end. And beyond these monolithic religions, we also have the Buddhists with their own expectation of the Maitreya, who comes as a teacher and will bring us to the teaching of the truth. In Hinduism, they have Kalki, who will appear to end an age, this age, and begin another. So there are different perspectives for the end of days. But can we bring them together? Different names, different roles, but all point to the same longing that someone will come and resolve the struggle and answer the questions of humanity. Is the Messiah the embodiment of awakened consciousness, the one who fully reconciles the human struggle with the divine reality? In this light, the Messiah is not merely awaited, he will be recognized. Not by lineage, not by blood, not by religion, not by his politics, but by his resonance with truth. So, will the real Israel survive the end times? My answer is yes, but not necessarily as a nation or an ethnicity or an institution. The real Israel is humanity at its most honest. Those who wrestle with existence, those who refuse shallow answers, those who seek truth beyond fear, beyond tradition, beyond religion. The real Israel is not inherited. It is something of humanity becoming. And in the end, what survives is not the claim, I am Israel, but the lived reality. I have wrestled with the divine, and I have not let go until I found the truth. Again, will the real Israel survive the end times? Which will also announce the revelation of the Messiah. So let us rethink of the Savior. He will come at the end of the age. He will be acknowledged as the Messiah. Again, take your mind off a person. We have erased that already. These expectations have taken many forms. Apocalyptic visions, divine interventions, returning saviors. Yet beneath these differences lies a sacred longing that humanity will be delivered from confusion, division, and suffering into truth, unity, and clarity. But what if this expectation has been misunderstood for so long, as it really is misunderstood? What if the end times are not about the destruction of the world, but the transformation of human consciousness? And what if the Messiah is not a single figure, not a single person, but the awakening of humanity itself? Israel, by this time, you can say that Israel is no longer an individual person, not even a single nation, but back to the meaning of the word, a living struggle. Struggle with the divine. Again, in the account of the book of Genesis, Jacob is given the name Israel, one who wrestles with God. Then Israel as a nation was lost. Then Paul came in with a double meaning. Israel by blood and Israel by faith. This is more than a name, it is a definition. Israel now is no longer a historical entity. It is a human condition. A condition to struggle to understand. A condition, the refusal to accept easy answers. And the pursuit of truth in the face of uncertainty. And through our program, Pandegesis, Israel becomes universal. Israel is anyone who wrestles with reality as the expression of the divine. Will the real Israel survive? If Israel is one who wrestles with God, then survival depends on one thing, the willingness to continue wrestling with God. Those who question honestly, those who adapt courageously, those who seek truth relentlessly will not only survive, they will lead the transition. It could be anyone among us. Could be a carpenter, a teacher, a scientist, a doctor, whoever. put your name and your profession in there. If you are seeking for the truth, if you are wrestling with God to understand deeper things and searching for clarity, then you are Israel for these modern days. Based on the meaning of the word, based on the verb, because Israel is really a verb. It's not a name given. It's a name, it's a verb masquerading as a name. Look at the meaning. So the real Israel is not destroyed, will not be destroyed in the end times. It will be manifested. It will be revealed. It will come out with clarity. So I think it's good to reimagine what the Messiah is. He's not a king. He's not a savior. He's not a teacher. He's not a divine agent. He's not a single individual, but the collective transformed humanity. If this world has to change, it will not lean on one person. It will be decided by humanity as a whole. The real Messiah then is awakened humanity. Humanity awakened to truth, aligned with reality, and living in conscious harmony with the divine expressed through the universe. This is not a denial of past figures. It is a fulfillment of what they pointed toward. The Messiah then is not one who comes from the outside, out there, or one who rescues from above, but a state of collective realization, a maturing of human consciousness. Seen this way, the expectations of many traditions begin to converge. The kingdom of God becomes a transformed human condition. Enlightenment traditions point to awakened awareness. Philosophical inquiries point to truth realized through reason. These are not competing visions. They are fragments of a single horizon. The concept of the Messiah is the meeting point of these different visions, not in one person alone, but in humanity becoming what it has long hoped for. The real Israel will survive the end times because it becomes the very ground from which the Messiah, the salvation of the world, arises. Revelation is not merely something that happens to the world. It is something that will happen within humanity as a whole. So again, will the real Israel survive the end times? Yes, because the real Israel is not one group. It's not one religion. It is a living process of awakening. The real Messiah is humanity, not as it is today, but what it will become. The end times does not announce the destruction of humanity, but its transformation. And the Messiah is not the one we wait for, but the one we, humanity, are becoming. Thank you, and God bless until next time. Any questions, any reactions are welcome. Just send them to me. And a request, if you have enjoyed our program, follow us. Please touch that subscribe button, follow, and share so that more of us can feast on these kinds of pandegesis messages. God bless. Until next time.